The air crackled with tension as I stood in the doorway of Iron Pulse Fitness, my pulse steady but my nerves alive with anticipation. My name is Nathan Cole, 51 years old, a former special. Forces operative for 12 years, before trading combat boots for a quiet life in Boulder, Colorado. Across the gym, a young trainer named Tyler flexed his sculpted arms, his smirk daring me to step into his world. He'd been training my wife, Emma, for 3 months, sessions that dragged late into the evening, paired with cryptic texts that lit up her phone at odd hours. I'd noticed the shift in her, the way her eyes avoided mine, and now here I was, facing the kid who thought his youth and muscle gave him the upper hand. Tyler strutted toward me, his voice cutting through. The hum of the gym's evening crowd, office workers sweating, out their day, college kids chasing clout with their deadlifts. "Walk away, old man, before I make you look pathetic," he taunted. Loud enough for the room to hear. He wanted a spectacle, a chance to prove he was the alpha in front of everyone. I didn't bite. Instead, I crossed to a nearby bench, easing myself down to untie my scuffed hiking boots. The worn laces felt familiar, grounding, like the tools I'd trusted in my military days. Tyler shadowed me, his confidence swelling as he mistook my silence for fear. "Emma's told me all about you," he sneered, angling himself so the gym's mirrors framed his chiseled jaw. "How you've let yourself go, how you're not enough for her anymore." The crowd was growing now, a semicircle of curious faces, some already holding up phones to capture the drama. They smelled blood, another viral clip in the making, the old husband schooled by the hotshot trainer. I slid off my right boot, placing it neatly beside the bench, and let Tyler keep talking. He was in his element, all lean muscle and bravado, probably fueled by protein shakes and a meticulously tracked macros log. "Last chance, Nate," he said, popping his knuckles for effect. "Leave now and maybe I'll break. Aid to Emma gently when she asks about you later." I focused on my left boot, unhurried, letting the laces slip through my fingers. The crowd shifted, impatient for the fireworks they were sure were coming. What they didn't see was that Tyler had already lost the second he made this a public challenge. I stood meeting his eyes for the first time since stepping inside. "You finished, kid?" I asked, my voice low but clear. Emma and I had met 15 years ago, when I was fresh out of the service and she was a rising star at a local credit union, all sharp blazers and warm smiles. Her poise drew me in, the way she could diffuse a tense situation with a single look. We married after 2 years, bought a fixer-upper in Lafayette, and dreamed of a family that never materialized. My military training had wired me to spot disruptions in patterns, and Emma's had been shifting for months. She'd linger at the gym, trade her old wardrobe for tighter outfits, and grow distant when I asked about her day. I'd brought it up once, softly, and she'd laughed it off as a quest for a new me, but then Tyler's name started creeping into her. Stories, first as her trainer, then as the guy with all the fitness tips, then as the sender of late-night texts she swore were about meal plans. 3 weeks ago, I'd driven by Iron Pulse during her supposed evening session. Her car wasn't there. When I asked later, she claimed she'd switched to morning workouts, but her gym bag sat untouched in the hall closet, and she came home smelling of jasmine, not sweat. I started watching closer, the way I used to scan for threats in Fallujah. She'd shower the moment she walked through the door, even after claiming she'd done so at the gym. Her phone, once left carelessly on the counter, now stayed face down during dinner. Yesterday, I saw them at a cafe in downtown Boulder. Not a gym session, just Emma laughing, her fingers brushing Tyler's arm in a way that wasn't professional. They didn't see me, but I saw enough. Tyler probably thought he was the first young guy to turn an older woman's head, that his biceps and charm outmatched my years. What he didn't get was that Special Forces didn't just teach me how to fight, it taught me how to wait, how to choose the exact moment to strike. I'd ignored the signs too long, trusted Emma when I should have questioned, and that was my mistake. But Tyler's was worse. He'd made this personal public a game of pride and disrespect. Back in the gym, I tied my boots tight and stood, rolling my shoulders. Tyler was still performing, soaking up the crowd's attention, oblivious to the shift in the air. "So what's it gonna be, old man?" he asked, puffing out his chest. You gonna do something or just sit there like you do at home? That jab stung, not for the insult, but for what it confirmed. Emma had shared our private struggles, painted me as the distant husband who'd let their marriage fade. I stood slowly, letting the crowd think I was creaking with age. Tyler smirked, reading it as weakness. He was wrong. Tyler, I said, my voice steady, you've been training my wife for 3 months. Sounds like she's been real committed. He grinned, leaning into the innuendo, flexing for the cameras. The crowd snickered, eating it up. Dedicated, I echoed, nodding. Emma always sees things through. Something in my tone made him falter, but he doubled down. Maybe you should take some pointers, Nate. Learn how to keep a woman's attention. I scanned the room. 47 people. Most filming, 2 exits, 1 behind Tyler, 1 near the treadmills. He stood with his weight forward, fists loose, like he'd watched too many boxing tutorials online. You know what 12 years in Special Forces taught me, Tyler? I asked, loosening my wrists. Patience, knowing when to move. He laughed, loud and cocky. Special Forces? Sure, and I'm a Green Beret. The crowd roared, egging him on. That's when I let my real smile slip. The one my old unit knew meant the planning was done. You're right about one thing, I said, shifting my stance to something he wouldn't clock. This is already over. Tyler swung, a heavy right hook aimed at my jaw. All gym-honed power and no finesse. I leaned left, his fist grazing my cheek by an inch. His momentum carried him forward, and I nudged his shoulder just enough to send him stumbling into a squat rack. The crash of metal weights hitting the floor boomed like a gunshot. The crowd gasped, then laughed, phones swiveling to catch Tyler's red-faced scramble back to his feet. Lucky move, old man, he growled, but his voice wavered. Was it? I asked, rooted in place. He charged again, low, aiming to tackle me like a linebacker. I sidestepped at the last second, guiding his head into a stationary bike with a gentle push. The thud of his face hitting the handlebars silenced the room. Tyler hit the floor, his perfect hair now a sweaty mess, confusion replacing his swagger. What the hell? He muttered, clawing his way up. You're broadcasting, I said, calm as ever. Your shoulder dips before you swing. You lean in before you charge. Rookie errors. The gym was hushed now, the only sound the faint buzz of phones capturing Tyler's downfall. He lunged again, a sloppy punch aimed at my chest. I caught his wrist, redirected his force, and sent him spinning into a cable machine. The impact rattled the equipment, and Tyler slumped, panting, his tight shirt soaked with sweat. Stop dodging and fight! He yelled, voice cracking. How are you doing this? I stepped closer, my tone even. 12 years in Special Forces, kid. You thought I was bluffing. His eyes narrowed, pride locking him in despite the dawning realization he'd misjudged me. I don't care who you were, he spat. You're just old now. He swung again, a wild haymaker that could have floored me if it landed. I ducked, let him spin off balance, and gave him a light shove toward the dumbbell rack. Weights clattered, 15 and 20-pounders, rolling across the floor as gym-goers jumped back, their laughter louder now. Stay down, Tyler, I said. So you're making this worse. But he was too far gone, his image as the gym's golden boy crumbling. He grabbed a 10-pound dumbbell, swinging it like a bat. The crowd gasped. This wasn't funny anymore. I caught his wrist mid-swing, pressed a nerve point I'd mastered in training, and his hand went limp, the weight crashing to the floor. Assault with a weapon, I said softly, still gripping his wrist, in front of 47 witnesses. You sure about this? Tyler's face drained of color. He yanked free, clutching his numb hand, fear overtaking his bravado. You want to know what I really learned in Special Forces? I said, loud enough for the cameras. How to spot a threat, how to read when someone's feeding intel to the wrong side. The gym was silent, the air heavy. I've been watching you and Emma for 3 months, I went on. The cafe meetups that weren't workouts. The late-night texts about schedules. The way she showers twice a day now. Hides her phone at dinner. Tyler's eyes widened. His escape routes blocked by the crowd. She told you about our marriage, didn't she? How I'm too busy, too distant, how the spark's gone. He glanced around, trapped. What she didn't tell you, I said, is that I've been working overtime to cover her dad's heart surgery. Been distant because I'm researching doctors, fighting insurance companies to get him the best care. The crowd murmured. Phones still rolling. Emma doesn't know yet, I added. I was waiting to tell her when it was all set. But you know what? She deserves to know about you. Too. I pulled out my phone, dialed Emma, and put it on speaker. Her voice came through sharp with worry. Nathan, I'm just leaving work. Everything okay? I'm at Iron Pulse, I said, eyes locked on Tyler. Having a chat with your trainer. A pause. Oh, I can explain. No need, I cut in. Tyler's been telling everyone how dedicated you are to your workouts. Tyler shook his head, mouthing no at the phone. Nathan, please let me come there. We can talk. We're done talking, I said. Tyler was just explaining how he's man enough to take another man's wife. Right, Tyler? The crowd leaned in, savoring his panic. Emma, find a new gym. Tyler, find a new career. I hung up, pocketing the phone. Tyler backed toward the door, his reputation in tatters. Where are you going? I called as he grabbed the handle. Thought you wanted to humiliate me. This is over, he mumbled, voice barely audible. Oh, it's over, I agreed, stepping closer. He flinched, pressing against the glass. Those videos, I said, nodding at the phone still pointed at him. They're already online. By morning, every gym in Boulder will know Tyler Hayes, the trainer who got schooled by a 51-year-old, the kid who couldn't land a hit on a guy old enough to be his dad. His eyes darted to the crowd, the weight of his mistake sinking in. You set me up, he whispered. No, Tyler, you did that yourself. I just let you. The door burst open, and Emma stormed in, her face flushed, hair slipping from its bun. Nathan, wait, she froze, taking in Tyler's split lip, disheveled hair, the scattered weights. What happened? Your trainer tried to teach me a lesson, I said, calm as ever. Didn't go his way. Emma's eyes flicked between us, the crowd, the phones. Tyler? She said, voice shaking. He couldn't look at her, his tough guy act reduced to a kid in over his head. This isn't how I wanted you to find out, she said to me, her voice breaking. Find out what? I asked. That my wife's been cheating with a kid who can't fight his way out of a YouTube video. I knew that months ago. Emma's face crumpled as Tyler slipped past her, fleeing into the night. Nathan, please, let me explain. I held her gaze, then shook my head. No need, Emma, it's clear. I turned to the gym manager, who stood frozen behind the desk, jaw slack. Might want to check your trainer hiring process, I said. And maybe up your insurance. I faced Emma one last time, the crowd still filming. When you get home, you'll find divorce papers on the counter. My lawyer's got copies of your cafe photos with Tyler, plus the texts. Private investigators are worth every penny. Her eyes widened. You hired someone? Special forces taught me to know my enemy, I said. Tyler thought this was about muscles. You thought I was too old to see what was happening under my roof. The house is in my name, I continued. The cars, too. I closed our joint accounts yesterday, legally. Of course. You can't, she started, but I cut her off. It's done. Oh, and ask Tyler about his job. Iron Pulse doesn't take kindly to trainers who tank their brand. I glanced at the gym. Tyler's water bottle lay abandoned by the weights, a sad relic of his fall. Enjoy your workout, I said, and stepped into the cool Boulder night. 6 months later, I sat in my new loft in downtown Boulder, sipping coffee and flipping through the local news. A small headline caught my eye. Iron Pulse. Fitness had shuttered after a string of viral videos scared off clients. Tyler Hayes had tried to land jobs at other gyms, but the footage of him flailing against a 51-year-old nobody haunted him. Last I heard, he was stocking shelves at a vitamin shop in Longmont. His influencer dreams dead. Emma had moved in with her cousin after the divorce. She'd fought for the house, but the evidence of her affair, photos, texts, timestamps, left her with nothing. Colorado's no-fault laws didn't erase the sting of betrayal in court. I'd taken up trail running again, pounding the paths around Chautauqua Park, the Rockies framing every step. The air felt cleaner, the world wider. My phone pinged, a text from my brother in Seattle. Saw the gym clips online. You handled it like a pro. Proud of you. I smiled, setting the phone down. The videos had blown up, not for Tyler's bravado, but as a lesson in hubris. the trainer who thought he could outmatch a man with real strength. That evening, I drove to a lookout above the Flatirons, the sunset painting the peaks gold. For the first time in years, I felt unburdened. Tyler's name became a punchline in Boulder's fitness scene, his humiliation looping endlessly online. Emma's social circle shrank, her affair a public scar she couldn't erase. Sometimes the best revenge isn't a fist or a shout. It's the patience to let people's choices catch up with them, and the strength to walk away when they do.